Okay, so in this video, I wanted to send out a video of the study guide and how to work through the problems that are on the study guide. So this will prepare you for the test that will be coming after this. So the test will be on Tuesday, September, lost my phone, my calendar. So the test will be Tuesday, September 8th. So the study guide is to help you prepare for this test. So number one on the study guide, it says the table shows the number of votes each student received for class president. What is the ratio of votes for a team to the total number of votes? So this was like lesson one when we were talking about ratios. So to do that, you gotta look at a head team. He got 16, so I'm gonna put that on top. Okay, on the bottom, we gotta put the total number of votes. So you gotta add them all up. So we have 16, 29, and 15. So 31, that'd be 60. Okay, 16 out of 60. So we have to simplify this. We always simplify rates or ratios as far as we can. So in this one, we can divide out a 2. I'm gonna divide by 2 first. So you get 8 over 30. Okay, once again, you can divide out another 2, or you can just start with 4. So you get 4 over 15. That's the furthest you can go down, and that is letter C. Okay, so that's how you do number one. So that's a ratio. So now, for 2 and 3, we're going to be writing these as a unit rate. So remember, a unit rate is when you have a 1 in the denominator. You want to get it all the way simplified down. So number 2, our rate is 180 miles. Remember to label in 6 gallons. Okay, we want to simplify that where you have a 1 on the bottom. So we can divide both of these by 6. So you're going to get 30 miles per gallon. Letter C. Okay, so in a unit rate, what your goal is to simplify all the way down to where you have a 1 in the denominator of your fraction. And these are easiest when you put them into fractional form. Alright, so let's talk about number 3. So number 3 is $120 for 15 books. So once again, I'm going to set this up like a fraction like I did in number 2. So $120 on top, 15 books on the bottom. Okay, your goal is to get 1 on the bottom. Right? So we want to get 1 there, so we're going to divide out a 15. Okay? More than likely, whenever you're working with unit rates, whatever's on the bottom, you're going to be able to divide out. It won't always work out that way. And you don't always have to start with that. We could have started with 5, so I'm going to start with 5 now. So 15 divided by 5 would be 3 books. And then 120 divided by 5 would be, what did I say earlier? I'll just do it real quick. I can't think of my head. 24. Yes. $24 for 3 books. Okay, that can still be simplified though, because we can take a 3 out. So you get $8 per book, which is letter A. Okay? So that's how you do unit rates. Unit rates are just simplifying fractions to where you have a 1 on the bottom. That is your goal with unit rates. We talked about those too. Okay, if you need extra help, you can always go back to the book and work on the extra problems that we did not complete in class or in those lessons or the videos. All right, so now on number 4. So number 4 says, it took Cedric 42 minutes to jog 12 laps. At this rate, how many minutes did it take to jog each lap? So we have 42 laps in 42 minutes, sorry guys. 42 minutes and 12 laps. That's how many they completed, 42 minutes. Okay, so we have to find the unit rate here. So the best thing to do is just go ahead and divide this down. So I'm going to start with dividing by 2. Okay, so we get 21 minutes and 6 laps. Okay, so obviously we can still keep simplifying, but 6 is not going to 21, but we can take a 3 out. So you get 7 minutes and 2 laps. So what that means is we got to divide those two, 7 divided by 2, which is 3.5 minutes. So it took him 3.5 minutes to run each lap, which is letter G. Okay? So that's how that works. All right, so you're finding, once again, this is finding a unit rate, and then you gotta figure out what it is each lap. They just wanted to know the time for what it was each lap. So number 5, kind of the same thing. So we have Julia can type 150 words in 5 minutes. Okay, at this rate, how many words can she type in 1 minute? So if we're looking for 1 minute, we're trying to find a unit rate. So we have 150 words in 5 minutes. Okay, so the good thing is 5 does go into 150. We can divide that out. So we're going to divide by 5. Okay, so you get 30 words per minute, which is letter A. So just unit rates there. So all we work with on the first page is unit rates and ratios. Okay, so now we're going to go into the back page. So on the back page it says for exercise 6 and 7, use the ratio table given to solve each problem. So we've dealt with ratio tables too. So number 6, it says a hair salon bought 12 headbands for $24. At this rate, how much will 48 headbands cost? So we have 12, we have 24 here, we have 48. So remember in the ratio table, you're just looking at what they used to get to the next part. So how did we get from 12 to 48? Well, you gotta multiply by 4. Well, whenever you do the bottom, you gotta do the top, or vice versa. So we gotta multiply that by 4. So 24 times 4 is $96. So it's gonna be letter I. So it's just like equivalent fractions. You basically do the same thing, but in a ratio table. So remember, multiply or divide, add, subtract, whatever you can to get to the next one. In this case, how do you get from 12 to 48? Well, we had to multiply by 4. Whatever you do there, you gotta do the bottom. Okay, number 7, same thing, add another ratio table. So there are 8 boxes which contain a total of 56 sweaters and a store warehouse. If the store needs 35 sweaters, how many boxes should they take? All right, so we have sweaters on top, we have boxes on the bottom. So in this first one here, we have 56, 8 boxes. Okay, and then we want to get to 35 sweaters. So we have to get to 35 sweaters. Okay, is there a factor that goes into both 56 and 35? Yes, 7. So 7 is going to be the number we go back to. That's the number that's going to make it easier for you guys. So how do you get from 56 to 7? Well, you have to divide by 8. And whenever you do the top, you got to do the bottom. So we're going to divide by 8. Well, that's 1. Now, how do you get from 7 to 35? Well, you multiply by 7. Or 5, sorry guys, 7 times 5. Well, whatever you do down there, you got to do that down here. So that would be 5. So they're going to have 5 boxes, which is letter G. So 35 sweaters is going to have 5 boxes. Okay, so that's how you do those. Remember, we had to scale forward and scale back. We talked about that in ratio tables. So in that case, we had to scale back first by dividing, and then we scale forward by multiplying. Now, number 8, working with ratios again. So number 8 says, for a class trip, 114 students are put on 4 buses. At this rate, how many students would be on 8 buses? So we just talked about that in the ratio and rate problems. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to put 114 students on the top and 8 buses on the bottom. So when I go to set up my second one, I already know that students is on top, and I know boxes is on the bottom. Now, they gave us 8 buses. So they gave us 8 buses. I messed that up. Okay, so 114 students on 4 buses. They want you to find 8 buses. How many students are on 8 buses? Okay, so 8 would go on the bottom. So how do we get from 4 to 8? Times 2. Gotta do the same thing up here. So that'd be 128 students. Okay? Now, number 9, same thing. Still working with ratio and rate problems, just like we did in lesson 7. Okay, that last video we just talked about. So it says, while hiking, Mr. Fines burns 808 calories in 8 hours. So right there, I'm gonna hurry up and set that up. So 108 calories in 8 hours. Okay, they want to figure out in 60 minutes. Well, 60 minutes means how many hours? 1. So use 1 hour instead. Make it easier on yourself. Don't change it to minutes, don't anything like that. You know that 60 minutes represents 1 hour. Use the same labels. Don't get confused by that. So how do we get from 8 to 1? Well, we have to divide by 8. So the same thing up here, divide by 8. So 101 calories is what he burned in 1 hour. Or 60 minutes. Okay, now number 10, Margot won 24 out of her last 36 tennis matches. So 24 is her wins. So I'm gonna write that down so I don't forget. Okay, 24 is the wins. Now, 36 matches is the total. So I'm gonna put total next to that so I remember. So 24 wins is what she got out of 36 total. So it says, at this rate, predict how many matches she would win out of her next 27. Okay, so the best thing to do here, okay, because if you set this up like those, and we put 27 down here, there's no way to get to 36 to 27. There's not. But we can simplify this and make it easier on ourselves. So I'm going to divide a 6 out. So I'm going to divide by 6. So I get 4 wins and 6 out of 6 total. Well, we can still work that out even more. So we're going to divide out a 2. Okay, so you get 2 wins out of 3 total. Now, we can work with 3 and 27. How do you get from 3 to 27? You multiply by 9. Well, whatever you do whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do the top. So I'm going to multiply, so that times 9, and that times 9. So 18 wins. So sometimes those numbers won't work, but like I always said, we can simplify ratios. They're just like fractions. So if we simplify it out, we get 2/3, and that we can work with. 3 goes into 27. So if those numbers don't work, try to simplify first, then go from there. Now, number 11. Okay, number 11. A store manager orders t-shirts so that 15 out of every 35 are a medium. Okay, so what that means is 15 mediums, 35 total. Okay, so we ordered 35 shirts, we only got 15 that were medium. So that's another thing to write down so you remember that. Because then it says, how many medium t-shirts would you expect to find 126? So we gotta do 126 total. We don't know how many mediums we got. Okay, so like I said on number 10, 35 doesn't really go into 126 easily. It's gonna involve a decimal and everything else. But we can simplify these before we do anything. Well, we can simplify it, take 5 out. So you get 3 mediums out of every 7 total. Well, 7 does go into 126, and we'll divide that out. So 7 goes into 12 once. You subtract, you get 5, bring down the 6 one, that's 56, that's 8. So you gotta multiply 7 times 18 to get to 126. You gotta do the same thing at the 3. You gotta do the same thing at the top. So we're gonna multiply 3 times 18. So it'll be 24. 54. So out of the 126, you should expect 54 mediums to be, to have 54 mediums. I said that weird, sorry guys. All right, so moving on to number 12. And guys, if you have any questions on these, we're gonna have that live session, okay, on Tuesday morning, right before the test. It's not a big deal. So we'll do that, and we'll talk, and you guys can go and take the test. Okay, you got plenty of time to work on the test. It's not a big hurry to get it done, nothing like that. I'd rather you guys know what you're doing. So now, number 12. Mia saves $28 in 8 weeks. Her sister saves $18 in 24 days. Are the rates at which each sister saves equivalent? So now we're just proving that they're equivalent or not. So we have $28 for Mia in 8 weeks. So I'm putting Mia above that. Okay, sister has $18 in 24 days. Okay, so we have a problem. We have 8 weeks and we have 24 days. Okay, so I would suggest, since this is not going to work out to be an even number of weeks, okay, since it's going to be, so it's going to be 3 weeks and 3 days, I'm going to change this to days. So 8 weeks, you got to figure out how many days that is. Well, how many days are in a week? 7. So you do 8 times 7. So you get 56 days. Okay, now, clearly you can't go from 56 to 24, but we can simplify these to see if they match. So we can take a 7 out of both of these, so $4, 8 days. And then on this one, we can take a 6 out. So we're going to divide by 6, so you get $3 and 4 days. Okay, do those match? No. Okay, those will never match. So no, not equivalent, because unit rates are not the same. Okay, if these do not match, then they are not equivalent. We talked about that. They have to be the same. When you simplify those out, and if they are not the same numbers, they are not equivalent. They will never match. It will never happen. So you put no, not equivalent, because their unit rates do not match. Or they're not the same, or whatever. Okay, 13. Okay, Luke can read 4 pages in 1 minute. So 4 pages, 1 minute. The good thing is it's already broken down. That's a unit rate. That's his rate every time. So write the ordered pairs. So number of minutes. So we have X is our number of minutes. And our Y is the number of pages read. Okay, so we want to do a word pair for 0, 1, 2, and 3. The good thing is you already have your X numbers. Okay, if his unit rate is 4 pages every minute, if he read 0 minutes, how many pages did he read? 0. And then after 1 minute, he read 4 pages. 2 minutes, well, you just doubled it. 8 pages, and then 3 minutes, he has 12. So that would be your ordered pair for that. Remember, X always comes first. Parentheses, X, drop my marker, X, comma, Y. Okay, that is your order. That's how ordered pairs are always written. Okay, and like I said, if you have any questions on this study guide, we are going to have a live session to where we can talk things out and work it all out together. Okay, then you'll take the test.